Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at these Carnotaurus figures that I acquired in my awesome $40 Carnotaurus lot from eBay. And these are two different versions of the same sculpt of the Kaiyodo Carnotaurus. And I really wanted to get a hold of these for a long time, especially this version, because I think the paint scheme looks super cool on it. But again, the Kaiyodo figures usually run about $10 to $15 for some of them. Some of them are a lot more, but these ones specifically are usually in that range, so I just never really got around to picking them up due to their smaller size. And it was one thing that I think with the Kaiyodo figures that often holds me back is the fact that they are so small and the price is usually a bit more expensive than I want to spend. But once I actually found them in that lot, I was really psyched that I did, because both are definitely beautiful looking figures here in person. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look at these guys right now. Now we will start with this one. Looking up here at the head sculpt, you can definitely see that there is some really nice detailing found in the head sculpt of this Carnotaurus, and look at how impressively well painted that eye is. That eye is crazy nicely painted for its size. Considering these figures are extremely small, the eyes on both sides look quite nice, and I am very impressed overall by just how good of a job they can do on painting that eye, although this eye is a little bit sloppier. It's just a little bigger, I think, than what we see on this side. But considering the size of the figure here, this is just my pointer finger, and you can see the head is smaller than that. It's very impressive overall, and just in general, the paint application is really impressive on these figures because they have so much paint apps included. You could see just many different variations of like red and orange and everything, and yellow up here on the head with very cool black striping all over the place. You also have the nostrils sculpted out up there at the tip of the snout. The teeth inside the mouth are really quite nicely painted, as well as the coloration inside the mouth with like a pinkish color. Very nicely done overall by Kaiyodo. As you start to move down the neck, you can kind of see like an armored type of an appearance to the upper side of the Carnotaurus. And you can also take note to those kind of trademark Carnotaurus osteoderms that pick up and run down the length of the dinosaur along the side. You can see they're painted with like a yellowish color. And then we start to get some striping and then some squiggly designs down here on the body. And again, there's just paintwork everywhere on this figure. It's like it was absolutely, there's a little fuzz or something there, but it was absolutely painted to the max. There is just so much paint all over this figure. It's crazy. But once you start to come down into the body, you can see some really nice detailing, very fine kind of skin texture to the dinosaur. You've got the nicely sculpted out arms there of the Carnotaurus. As we move up here into the back, you can see the hip bone quite nicely elaborated right here in this general vicinity. You can also see some decent muscle tone, some musculature there in the leg. But once you get to this point here, the leg gets uber scrawny, and I don't know why. I feel like that takes away from the figure just a little bit, and you can see that same ordeal over here. I don't think it actually looks that bad on this side. It looks okay, but over here it just looks really, for some reason, super scrawny, almost like the Carnotaurus is starving to death. But the feet themselves look quite nice. Here's this foot, and this actually confused me really badly when I first got this. It was disconnected, and if we pull him off, he only has 2 toes there, and it really confused me until I realized that the 3rd toe is actually on the base, and it's not until you connect it that you see the complete foot. So that was very strange. I almost dropped him, but that was very strange when I first got it out. Down here on the base, you can also see the remains of a dinosaur that this Carnotaurus was apparently feasting on, which is a really nice touch as far as the base goes. But once you lead out the length of the tail, again, some really nice detailing the entire way out. Beautiful curves in the tail, very nice looking overall. I think the positioning of the Carnotaurus is very cool, very natural. And on this side, you can see, again, some really nice detailing, but also beautiful paint application. You have like a kind of like a splattered type of an effect with like white and black here, and then it transitions to like black and yellow, and then you can see tones of like white kind of creeping through in certain areas, as well as yellow and sort of oranges, and then more kind of black all over the place, and then you have reds and oranges and yellows. Oh, there's just so much paint on this figure. It is really quite impressive overall. But you can see on this side the detailing as well is really nicely done. Beautiful skin texture. It's just very fine, and unless you get nice and close, you can't really pick up on it, especially kind of with the way that the dinosaur is painted, because the paint is just, there's just so much of it. There's so much abundance of paint. It almost kind of washes away the detail, and you can't notice it all that well. But I feel like this is kind of meant to represent the male Carnotaurus, because once we bring this one up, you can now see how much more dull the paint is on this one as opposed to the previous one, and you can also get a much better idea as far as what the detailing of the actual body looks like. You can really see it now, nice and beautifully sculpted out as far as the minute details on the Carnotaurus go. Lots of nice creasing throughout the skin on the tail as we move up here, and even into the body. You can now kind of take note to the rib cage, and just in general kind of like skin folds and everything here on the underside of the Carnotaurus, even kind of like the creasing in the neck and everything up here. So it's really cool to have two different paint variants. You can also see the eyes are painted really nicely on this one as well, with a nice green coloration, and the inside of the mouth as well is nicely painted. But again, it's very cool to have two different variations of the figure, and kind of like a male and a female, and it really creates a very cool looking diorama once they're next to each other, even though they are in the exact same position. And again, you have the whole corpse deal going on down here with a dinosaur that apparently was the lunch of this Carnotaurus. So really, really nice looking figures. I love this one and the other one, and I think, like I said, the two together create kind of a scene of a male and female maybe happily standing over their kills that they recently took part in. And once we actually take them off of the bases, and you can take a look at here some of the remains of the dinosaurs, this one actually has a really nice kind of gloss effect, almost insinuating blood, whereas this one doesn't really have that. So I don't know if this one here, the male-ish version, is newer than the female type version, but it is really, really gory on this side and not so much over here. But beautifully sculpted bases, very beautifully painted, and just in general, I think both of the figures are awesome. Male actually kind of has like a gloss coat to him, more so than the female. The female has it too, but I feel like the male is a little glossier. Here I am just calling them male and female like I know that they are. I think that's what Kaiyodo was going for. It really seems like it, but regardless, both of these figures I think are great. As far as a size goes, and again, being a Kaiyodo figure, it's really quite small, and since they're the same sculpt, we only have to measure one, so about 4 inches in length, or 10 centimeters, and for a height, a little under actually 2.5 inches, or about 6.5 centimeters, somewhere in that range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our very small Kaiyodo figures. And if you happen to have any Kaiyodo figures prior to this review, you'll know how small they truly are. But if you don't have any Kaiyodo figures, hopefully this shows you how small they are, because they really are small. Pretty much just minifigures, but very highly detailed with incredible paint jobs continuously on them. And I think that is one thing that just makes the Kaiyodo figures so insanely impressive, is how highly detailed they can be when it comes to both the sculpt and paint department for such a small size. So I actually do quite like the Kaiyodo figures. I just wish they weren't so expensive, because they are beautiful overall, but I feel like the prices for them usually are way too much money for what you are actually getting as far as the size goes. However, I will say that the paint application of them kind of makes up for that when it comes to the overall beauty of the figure, because it's pretty impressive overall just how much paintwork they put into these Kaiyodo figures. But I feel like these two Carnotaurus are really, really fantastic looking renditions of a Carnotaurus. Very nice as far as the sculpt goes. I think the pose in general is really beautiful. Kind of looks like a Carnotaurus that has a kill there, and maybe another Carnotaurus is like walking up next to it, or some other type of an animal is walking up next to it, and the Carnotaurus just noticed it, reared up, and is sort of kind of like displaying a defensive posture to try to persuade whatever dinosaur is near it to stay away from its kill. That's kind of what I get out of this overall. But I think that the sculpt is really nice with that one leg kind of lifting up off the ground, even if it does look a little bit puny in certain areas, and a very appealing kind of dynamic pose for it. I really do like the paint of both. Again, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like it's a male and female. With the colors of the male, they're just so bright, they're so vibrant, you have to assume that's got to be a male Carnotaurus, otherwise I would not imagine it to be so bright and colorful. And then the other one really does look like a hen, like a female bird or something, so it has nice darker colors and not near as flashy. So I really think that's kind of the idea between both of these as far as what they were going with when it comes to the difference in paint application. The bases as well are really nicely done. I think the fact that the male version has blood all over the place looks really cool. I wish they would have kind of done that with the female version. The female version almost looks like it stumbled upon an old corpse that is rotting away, and that's kind of what that one has found, but the male has just stumbled upon a dinosaur that it killed and actually is in the process of devouring it. So in a way, it's kind of cool and almost tells a different story for each base, but I think that both are really beautiful in their own individual ways as far as the paint application goes. The paint of the figures themselves, speaking of the paint, is really nicely applied as well, impressively nicely applied. It all does look like body color, not paint on a figure, and is not sloppy as far as I'm concerned in pretty much any way that I see. So overall, both of these Carnotaurus figures are fantastic, really beautiful Carnotaurus figures. Unfortunately, I think they run about $14, $15 usually on eBay. I will try to include a link in the description to both for you guys to purchase if you would like to buy them. But again, for their size, they are a little bit pricier than they probably should be. But regardless, make sure you check the description. Go buy these Carnotaurus figures if you want them, but also make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.